session where we'll be talking on a topic we are discussing today is harnessing cultural values for economic development. And what we have seen all over the world is that so many countries taking advantage of cultural activities, either through tourism, through so many of items they have as mementos that people can buy and all of that. And of recent, 3 days in Brazil, they were grossing $3-point-something billion for a 3-day. And I just look at Nigeria, so many beautiful cultural activities we have. And how do we now pull all this together for our economic gains? And that's why we have in the studio with us this morning, well, it's High Chief in Egbaland, and he's also the chairman, Culture and Tourism Committee of Egba Economic Council. He's the Seriki of Egbaland, Chief.
I'm not Seriki of Egbaland, sorry, I'm Seriki of Oba.
Seriki of Oba and Bashor. Oh, okay, so sorry, I missed that of Chief Ladi. I decided to recognize those ones because this week in Egbaland is a very unique one. You know that. So we must identify those native links. That's why I'm trying to get your chiefs correctly. So Chief Ladi Adibite, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning.
It's good to be here.
All right. Moses.
Okay, Chief Ladi, let's start from the simplest form. Of course, elementarily, they will say culture is a way of life of particular people. But at the advanced level, I know that there's no universal definition of culture. We just define it. Anthropologists have their own definition, economists have their own definition, sociologists have their own definition, owing to the perspective they are looking at it from. So, to you, what is culture?
For me, culture is simple. It has one basic definition as far as I'm concerned, and it's a way of life. The way of life of the people, their tradition, their values, and the way they project themselves. Culture is basically a way of life.
Now, what we are looking at now, we are looking at harnessing, cultural values, to the economic development. So, let me just put it to you: how can we harness, our cultural values to boost our economy?
Well, like your colleague said a few minutes ago, that all over the world, culture has actually been used to promote economic activity. How can we do here? I'll give the simplest example I can give is the Drum Festival in Abeokuta. If you see the way it started and the way it progressed, it started in a small space within the cultural center in Kuto. And it brought together a lot of people from all of Africa eventually. And the economic impact on that is that every time that they came to Abeokuta, all the hotels were fully booked. People that were selling goods and services within the area also prospered and made quite a lot of money, to the extent that some people will come especially for the drum festival to be able to sell goods. So that's one way that those activities are able to affect economic advancement. I'll give you another example. This week we're doing Lishabi. Lishabi week basically is about promoting the unity of the Egba people as manifested by Lishabi. And the activities in Oba in particular, every year, whenever there is that festival, is immeasurable. I don't think there's any meter to really measure it other than the fact that there's so many people that come together and are doing trades. Okay, for example, in Oba, if it's talking about the small guy that has chairs and tables that are renting out, he knows for certain at that point in time, the time when there are going to be a lot of people, he makes an extra effort to be able to produce something better so that it's more attractive. Food and drinks, the same thing. What's it called? public address systems, and even the kids, the young children, have an opportunity to be able to come and show that, hey, we're part of this community, and they'll buy clothes, they buy things. So economically, it does have some degree of impact, in my own opinion. As part of Egba Economic Summit, what we want to try and do is to actually find a way to promote more cultural activities, the tradition and the values that go with that. Because these days everybody is into TV, but social media, everything is coming from all over, but very little is coming from the essence of our being, where we have come from, and the source. So it's important to be able to also project that, so that hopefully from the other world as well, they can imbibe some of it and make it that much. I'll give one more example. Sorry. The band. I remember when he was first popular. I was in an elevator in a shopping center, and I was hearing the beat, and I was wondering whether I had headphones on, because it was something I didn't associate with a foreign country. But that has gone that way. Whether it's $1 or 10 cents a time, it has actually also added indirectly to the economic advantage of Nigeria in general in that perspective. So, yeah, culture is a good medium to be able to add to economic vitality. Okay.
Now, there's not one aspect of this. I like the narrative you give. I mean, give some a kind of hope that, but many a times people mix up cultural activities and traditional activities. Are they truly different, or are they truly, or they are the same thing? Because one of the reasons why, one of the reasons I have observed over the time why we are not really taking advantage of our cultural activities is that many people, associate religion to it, and as a result, for instance, someone will say, no, me, I'm a Muslim. I'm a Christian or something. Can you situate this? And
I totally understand what you're saying, and I have exactly the same problem, because I have people I grew up with, and I tell them I'm Seriki of Oba, and they're like, what are you doing there? Seriki is a traditional title. I say, yeah, it is a traditional title. And they say, yeah, it's about things that are fetish. And I say, hey, wait a minute. I don't come from a fetish background. Everybody knows that my father was a Muslim leader. He was a cleric. He was also Seriki, but he was Seriki of Egbaland. And then my father was a fetish. That's not it. If you go and take one jazz in order to become strong. What strength am I looking for? I'm an ambassador of my people. And that's the long and short of it. I have sworn that I would protect and project the image of that society as best as I can. Yeah, a lot of people say if it's traditional, it means this, means that. The title is traditional, no doubt about it. But we have a hierarchy and a system that has existed from way back when. We have traditional religion. We have Islamic religion. We have Christianity as a religion. In every household, I don't care where they've come from, they one way or the other, they're all in one way or the other. But there's nothing wrong with everybody practicing their own religion. When it comes, technically I'm a warrior with my title. Mine is to protect the establishment, right? How I choose to do it.
It's your own choice.
My faith is my own. Nobody can co-opt anybody into any faith. If you don't want to have that faith, you cannot have that faith. And that misconception sometimes screws things up a bit. It makes people kind of shy away from it because saying, I don't want to. But if you have your own faith and your own conviction, nobody can make you do things that you don't.
And with the position you find yourself, in this cultural and tourism community, what kind of, I don't want to use difficult challenges do you have to really project our cultural values for the purpose of...
I think the biggest challenge that we have, and I wouldn't want to restrict it to Egba Economic Summit in general, is basically the support from, let me use the word private sector. We have this, in my opinion, bad habit of relying so much on government to do everything. Government is supposed to create an enabling environment for all of us to do what we need to do. But how do we now get what, for example, if you weren't in this establishment, you would be a media consultant or something in that division. You should be able to come up, for example, with a concept that will sell and sell it to the radio station, for example. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And I think that is one thing, generally in Nigeria, not just in this state, that we haven't been able to find a way to take advantage of. Although I believe, okay, for example, what I think is the first motion picture in Nigeria that ever was Beastie Daughter of the River. It was produced by Jabadu from the village headmaster. My father was a part of it. He was a legal consultant. There was one single sponsor. It was MK Abiola. His ability to have been able to put that money down for something that he probably didn't have any clue or a good idea is where we're missing. We don't have enough supporters of these cultural things to be able to project them in a way that will be sustainable or profitable. And I think that's where we need to get more people involved in that process outside of government. The Drum Festival is fantastic, but it need not be so much government that is in it. We should be able to say, okay, Nestle around the corner from here, we want to do this. International breweries around the corner from here, let us do this. How are we going to be able to do this? All of them have funds to be able to do small things. But how do we harness those funds in a way to be able to make it work for culture and tourism? I think is the biggest problem.
Don't you think that this misconception about cultural activities is also perhaps one of the reasons why these private sectors will not want to participate?
I don't want to be rude or anything. I don't think so. I think it's just a narrow-mindedness of a lot of people these days that just football, for example.
Okay.
That football, everybody knows about football. That's what everybody wants to do. In fact, in Nigeria, it seems that that's the only sport that there is until we had Joshua recently. Anthony Joshua recently. Now it's okay. Maybe boxing is not such a bad thing. But when I was growing up, all these sports.
Yeah.
Well, but I learned to play cricket in secondary school. Form 1. I was how old? 11. But we don't have that now. Right now, it's the only football that we know. There's basketball, there's golf, there's tennis. There's so many things, and the kids don't really have a lot of things that they're doing. But anyway, let's not talk sports. Let's talk.
But don't you also think that maybe some Nigerians are also xenocentric? Xenocentrism is an anthropological term that says feeling that one's culture is inferior, to other cultures. Because when in a society where people seem to prefer, foreign goods, foreign cultures, anything that is foreign, the way people accept and
that is one of the biggest problems that we have. We have deviated, and we have too much exposure or love for those things that are not ours. But you see, look at, for example, a typical band. They're drums, they're gongs. There's a guy that I remember, Paul Simon. He made a lot of his music. He's a white guy. It was based on South African music. His chorus and some of the instruments was South African. Played beautiful music. The problem is that sometimes you don't value those things that you have. You look at other things that are a little bit more difficult to reach as you take for granted what you have. I enjoy the bata drums, for example. I can't beat the drum, but I have a few in my house. I don't even look at them. I'm proud already. Do you understand? My dad used to listen to Sakara. Okay, you know Q Dot?
Yes, I know Q Dot.
He plays Akbala in the modern kind of way. That excites me. I know it's not the same, but you feel the beats and you know that, okay, fine, this is the part. And some of the young guys enjoy it too. So it's not because they just don't know it, because it's not out there in their field. I'm glad though in recent times, we're doing more Nigerian music than we're doing international music with our young ones now. When I was younger, it was the opposite.
The days of Shalama.
From Bob Marley to Shalama, those were the things at that time. For me, one of the biggest inspirations in music for me was Shina Peters. He just was the one that started all of this, in my own opinion, being able to balance the old traditional music and the modern. And I remember that time I was excited about it, that, this is innovative, and it has come to pass. So at the end of the day, I think it's just a matter of creating that environment which will encourage local music. Africa Magic, all over the world, people are watching. I have friends in Uganda that like our own kind of movies as compared to theirs that talk about it. Some of them can't even, they don't understand Yoruba, but they're reading subtitles and they're enjoying it. So what we have locally, it's not like it's bad, it's just that we haven't been able to put it in the face of people in a way that it will be appreciated a lot more than what's out there.
Well, you just talked about movies now, but unfortunately, these days, we hardly see epic movies.
Yes.
What they showcase in Nollywood, just, there's no epic stories, unlike the way we used to have back then, or Abijah.
How do you
I mean, we grew
know?
up, some of us could even chant those incantations back there. So, what's happening?
Now it's a tough one. I can't tell you, but I still think it's the same thing. It still boils down to the ability to get the people that have that kind of content to be able to put themselves in a position where people are able to see. For example, if we now sat down here and a group comes and wants to do a short play here, and they're using the drums and using everything, we would enjoy it. But we may not necessarily have the opportunity to be projecting what it is that they're doing to the larger crowd. So at the end of this, also being able to get all of that. For example, Lishabi, the spirit of Lishabi, I know it. My daughter does it. If I tell her, but if you can turn it to a small play, people will watch it, or a movie. People watch it. There's a lot in history that is getting lost now because of all of this. That we can't, like you said, we don't have epic movies, nothing telling us about where we're from or where we're going. And for me, all of that.
Can't we coordinate such
The problem that you would have with that is how, for example, what kind of body are you going to create to be able to get that information? Would it be called Hoteliers Association? And then there's also the risk of the quality of the information that is passed. So how do you secure it? I can't say how, other than maybe if they compel all the hotels to provide information about their income at each and every point in time.
Okay.
But you would not now have control as, you and I will not have control as to what kind of, the quality of that data. We will just take it as the word of mouth of the hoteliers. For example, if a hotelier is looking for more money to expand, he will underplay it. Do you understand? Another person can come and overplay it because he wants a lot of people to seem like he's doing better, so a lot more people will come. So we can't rely on the hotelier's information. So what body can we get to be able to do that? I don't know, unless maybe
at the federal level, we have Federal Office of Statistics. Even at the state level, even the ministry that has to do with culture and tourism could take it as a responsibility. It could be done.
It would be nice to be done. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. It would be nice to be done. Like I said, it's just the quality of the information. But like you said, the Office of Tourism should be able to say, okay, fine. All hoteliers in this area, come and register here if you want to get certification. And you must provide X amount of information from time to time. And then over time, they can now look at the data at different times and whether there were spikes or no spikes during those activities. I think that would be a brilliant idea. That would be a way to improve our statistics. But the Office of Statistics, whether federal or local, needs to also be able to find ways of determining that by themselves without necessarily, if that information, there are a lot of businesses that need that kind of information. For example, if you're out of the country and you decide I want to go to Abeokuta, the first thing that anybody will do is, the first thing that's going to come up is Olumorok. The degree of attendance and profitability of Olumorok as an identity, you and I don't know. We can't say this is how much was generated from there. We can't say these are the other businesses around there that benefited. But I know for a fact And 90% of people that come to Abeokuta, if they don't go anywhere, will go to Olomoro. So I only learned that we have here a museum, other than Obasanjo's library.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, and I've been in Abeokuta for quite a while.
Well, perhaps those who are managing the place are not doing enough publicity.
Okay, Chief, let's talk about marketability of our festivals. No, you started with Brazil. You talked about Brazil. Brazil all over the world. Brazil is known for the festivals. The people will come all over the world just to witness, these events. This Shabi Festival, for example, I love the spectacle. The masquerades, the way people parade themselves during the grand finale and all. Spectacle. But I believe we can still do more when it comes to marketability to ensure that it's more all-encompassing. We have more foreigners, coming into it's Lishabi Festival. You see people come from all over the world, with their photograph, their cameras and what have you. So what can we do in that regard?
Information, I think. I think there's just a need to spread the information better, and because, for example, Osun Festival, they have a lot more foreigners that come in. Arugungu in the north, they have a lot of people. It's just to be able to promote it. I think if we concentrate on it, and it's possible. And I think it's a good idea to actually start looking at that, because that's where you're going to see the real impact of it. Because once it becomes global, and you start getting foreign people coming in, it's more business locally. So I think it's a good idea to be able to do that. How is going to be something that we have to think a little bit harder about as to how to do it and how to get there. But it's doable. It's doable.
Okay. At the federal level, we have a federal ministry that superintends culture and tourism. State level, we also have ministries all over the place doing this. And when you look at all of this, good enough, you made reference to one activity in Ogun State here that was actually the baby of the government itself, the Drum Festival. And gradually it's making progress. If you take this as our case study, don't you think that if government really pay additional attention, because I recall the last one held in Abeokuta here, the volume of human traffic almost doubled the previous one. And it has always been, so perhaps this year, I don't know whether it's also going to be double. That means that if government really wants to develop the culture and tourism side of our economy, there's potentials. So I don't know whether through your committee you've had something along this line, having to interface with government. What exactly do you think are these challenges that is preventing their performances?
I think it's also budgetary. If you don't allocate money towards a project, from a government point of view, irrespective of how much the people want it or not, it wouldn't be done. So it's just a matter of, the last government took the Drum Festival very seriously. And that is why a lot of money was spent on it, creating the right kind of money, inviting a lot of people. I remember that the last one, if I remember well, the Laughing was there, the Oni was there. People came from outside, inside. And that was, because the government actually spent a lot of time and energy on it. Moving forward, as much as we hate to admit it, government is a very integral part of development. And if they support a cause, it will work. But I still think there still needs to be a lot more private. You see, when we talk about all the other foreign countries, the government would create the environment, but it's the people and the sponsors. There are very many sponsors that go into the success of a lot of these programs. Be it soft drink companies, beer companies, tobacco companies. a lot of money comes from outside to make sure that those things are successful. But like I said before, what the government did in the case of the drums was to create an environment that is friendly enough, safe enough for people to come from outside inside. So government will do its own, but we still need to be able to identify the enthusiasts. I'm trying to think of who, I think it's Chief Christopher Collady. He was an enthusiast on culture and tradition, and a lot of the companies he associated with did support those kind of things. We just need more people that have the mind to be able to say, okay, you know, we have this mind, how are we going to do it to actually be able to make things work better?
Okay. Now, in all of these cultural things that we're talking about, we as a people, Yoruba for instance, from, okay, incidentally all of us, all of us on the set, we are donning Adire and all of, we also have some of these other things in some other places, like sculptors and all of that. But when you see these people, even when they go, when they do exhibition, either of painting, of this and that, people don't seem to appreciate such things. Someone who had done a very beautiful oil on canvas, and they've taken several weeks to do that, expecting that at the end of the day, something will come and people just look at it and go and all of that. That will not encourage people who are in that aspect of our culture. All right? Now, how do you think we can ginger the interests of very few people are, you know, cultural enthusiasts that want to, you know, have so many things in their house. Look, that one was done by so person and all of that. How do we ginger our interest in all of this?
You'd be surprised that there are a lot more people that are interested in art and culture than meets the eye. It's, for example, in Lagos, I've been to quite a few programs.
Okay.
That I've been to musicals, I've been to plays, I've been to art galleries to actually, I've visited quite a few exhibitions. It's, at the end of the day, it's just being able to pull people towards those things. If you come to my house now, you would think my house is an art gallery. I am an enthusiast of art and culture. I just like them. You know, I went to Shogbo the other day just to see the difference between how Adire was made here and how it was made there. It was a shocking revelation that even though they're both Yoruba, the way that they approach to it is totally different. But at the end of the day, you won't be able to tell one or the other when you see it unless you know. So it's being able to bring, look at Obasanjo Library, for example. I didn't go there until last year, and I was quite impressed. I went with a few people, and everybody was impressed. The theme of that particular place was about the man Obasanjo, but it was brilliant. And how much did I pay? Maybe it was 6,000 or something. But I got my joy out of it. I put it there. I recommend it to other people. So sometimes it's your ability to be able to let people know that this is the place, this is what is being done. That is the big. Who takes on that responsibility, like you were saying? Is it federal? Is it state? Is it individual? But it's something that is created. For example, OGTV could do something. They could decide that, you know what, we want to do art awareness or cultural awareness week. We'll look for sponsors to be able to, so that OGTV makes some money. And we will bring other people, different people with different ideas in to come and now do this. So for one whole week, that's what they're going to do. You can decide that you want to have, okay, for example, Lagos Fashion Week. You can decide you want to have a Abeokuta Adire Week. It would, but the promotion of that, GTB supports Lagos Fashion, and without GTB, that thing will not be successful. It's not a joke. Because they have the money, they have the platform to be able to draw people in. And that is where I think we have the biggest problem.
Chief, I believe that culture is a product of learning and not heredity. So you talked about your daughters. does not know the Lishabi story. And there's this aspect of fetishness. When people, when we talk about culture, when it gets to a stage, people tend to withdraw because of that fear that at this point it's fetish, maybe because of our religious beliefs. So, but how can we make our culture, more appealing, to the younger generation?
Education. You said it. It's just ability to be able to know that everybody has a way of life. There's traditional religion, there are all the other religions. One does not affect the other. We all live with those things. And when it comes to traditional matters, it does not necessarily associate itself with traditional local religion. It's just about education. For me, when I went to Shogbu, like I said, I saw some statues that I liked. When the man said, what did he say, Okmofa or something like that, I said, I don't want to leave it. Yeah, it's a piece of wood that's carved. But the fact that he put that phrase around it kind of made me kind of like, okay, that means that it probably has religious, but at the end of the day, it's a piece of wood. Do you understand? If you let people understand that, look, traditional religion is what it is. My religion tells me that you have to have intention in order to be able to do something. If it's not my intention to worship any of those things, then even if I put a statue that represents a god in my house, technically it's nothing. Because I do not have that connection with whatever it is. Unless you are going to tell me that a statue is going to start to walk and carry me and throw me into the air or something, which is not necessarily the case. So at the end of this, the education, the ability to be able to let people be aware that this is art, this is culture. There's a difference between that and religion. You can be, the three of us can have three different religions. We can still communicate and still be without affecting one another. So it's more awareness as far as I'm concerned than anything else.
And on this, the aspect we just discussed, which is education. When you look at the modern day education we have now, right from primary schools, most particularly the private ones, they don't even, communicate with their pupils in the mother tongue, which is the first detachment. Because by the time you now speak to a young girl and they say you are trying to correct her or him, that that's not the way they greet in Yoruba land. And just, no, our auntie said, our uncle said, and all of this stuff. And gradually, it's actually make this new generation drift away. Can we find a way around it that we can also inculcate these cultural values into our children right from the primary school? Though I know that a day is being observed now as Cultural Day, that they will allow people to wear their. Is there any particular way that we can push?
I think that, as they say, home training, because the training starts at home, and charity begins at home. We are the cause of that problem, our generation.
Yeah.
No, in fact, our father's generation. I remember going to school and being told that I cannot speak in Yoruba, it is vernacular. If I speak in Yoruba, they tell me to kneel down or stoop down or something.
They write your name down.
You get into trouble. So that has actually regressed into where we are now, because our own was like, in fact, if I did not speak English properly, they would score points against me. If I argue Yoruba, they score points against me. Maybe I will get more punishment or something. But to be able to reverse that, you can't let the schools do it. The schools can't do it. It has to be done at home. And to be able to do it means that even the parents need to be able to understand this culture and tradition that they want to
but what about those that believe that a language or a local languages are not that of technology? For example, the Chinese language, they'll be able to translate what we have in physics, chemistry into their own local language. People say, okay, for Yoruba language, we've not been able to do that. How are we going to translate? It's doable anyways, but currently we've not been able to do that. And some are saying, look, our language is not language of technology.
It's interesting that you say that, and I'm going to break the rules a bit. When it came to translating the Bible and the Quran, we managed to change the language and translate it. People have a Yoruba Bible translation of the Quran in Yoruba. But the biggest problem that we have is that we do not have a local language that everybody speaks. English is our lingua franca, which means that all of those other languages, Chinese, they speak Chinese. It is the only language that they speak. If you know extra, is extra. Do you understand? So it's easy for them to be able to do that because they don't need to be translating it to English anymore. That's what they've learned everything in, and that's the language. So their own position is totally different from ours. I have a friend, for example, who is dedicated to educating kids about Yoruba because she believes that Yoruba is the language of our people. It's traditional, it's cultural. It shouldn't be left to go into ruins. It shouldn't be left to degenerate to the extent where the average kid will eventually not be able to speak Yoruba. I support her and I understand that. But it's extremely difficult unless we all decide now that all our schools, we're going to make sure that we're going to teach everything in Yoruba. And that.
No, I think that will start with translating the textbooks.
Those
first.
kids will not even do it. They just go on the internet and don't go to school anymore.
That's interesting. Anyway, I think at this point in time we might, okay, we will allow some people to, people to call, and let's just share your opinion on this topic of discussion today. Chief Ladi Adebite has been, doing a very good job on this topic, and I just feel that we should also get to know from your own end out there your opinion on this. How do we harness? Because we have cultural diversity everywhere. You see one thing or the other. We have this particular cultural dance group from, I think, Imeko or somewhere, that anytime you see them perform, in most cases, you get any child from that Imeko, by the time they listen to that particular drum beat, they know the steps. All of them. At any given time, they give the same thing. And then when you go to some other places, go to Ijebu area, Remo, go to Ota. In fact, in the case of Ota, it is more of a gungu, and you hear this bata, they know what to do. Everybody does the same step. And these are some of the things that other climbs are taking advantage of. But we'll take this short break, and then by the time we also come back, it will be time to also allow our viewer to call in on the program. Don't go away.